Lionel Messi was born in June 1987 in a city called Rosario in Argentina. His father worked in a factory. His mother cleaned houses. The family did not have much money, but they had a lot of love, and they had football running through their blood. Messi was the third of 4 children, with 2 older brothers and a younger sister. From the moment he could walk, he wanted a ball at his feet. His grandmother was the person who first saw something special in him. She took him to local matches and told him again and again that he was different, that one day the world would know his name. Messi loved her deeply, and this bond stayed with him his whole life. Even now, when he scores an important goal, he often looks up to the sky, remembering her. When Messi was around 11 years old, doctors discovered a serious problem. His body was not producing enough growth hormone, a condition that meant he might stop growing at a very short height unless he received expensive daily treatment. The medicine cost hundreds of dollars every month, an amount his family simply could not afford on a factory worker's income. For a while, it looked like his dream might end before it even truly began. Not because he lacked talent, but because his family lacked money. Being so much smaller than other boys his age also made him a target. Some coaches doubted he could ever compete physically. Some children mocked him. There is a well-known story from this period where, during a match, some boys played a cruel trick and locked young Messi in a bathroom just to keep him from playing. When he finally got out, he did not cry or complain. He walked straight onto the field and played better than everyone else. Even as a small boy, his response to cruelty was simply to let his football speak. At age 13, everything changed. A scout working for FC Barcelona, one of the biggest football clubs on the planet, saw Messi play and immediately understood that this small boy had extraordinary ability. The club made an offer that would change his life. Come to Spain, and Barcelona would cover the cost of his medical treatment. For his family, this was an enormous decision. It meant leaving behind their home, their relatives, and everything familiar in Argentina. But they believed in their son, so in the year 2000, Messi and his father moved to Barcelona, while the rest of the family stayed behind in Argentina for a period of time. Life in Spain was extremely difficult at first. Messi was just a young boy in an unfamiliar country, missing his mother, his brothers, and his sister. He struggled with the language. He was naturally shy, and this made it even harder to make friends. He trained at Barcelona's youth academy, known as La Masia, where he was often the smallest player on the field. But whenever he had the ball, something remarkable happened. He could move past defenders as if they weren't even there. Coaches quickly recognized that this quiet, small boy possessed a rare gift. Still, the loneliness was real. Messi has spoken in later years about how many nights he cried from homesickness during that period, wondering if it was worth being so far from the family he loved. His father stayed by his side, but a young boy needs more than one parent, and Messi missed his mother and siblings deeply. On top of that came the pressure of representing a major club at such a young age, a weight that would be heavy for anyone, let alone a homesick child in a foreign country. At 16, Messi was given his first opportunity to play with Barcelona's senior team, stepping onto the field with grown men who were older, stronger, and far more experienced. It would have been easy to freeze under that pressure. Instead, during one of these early matches, Messi received the ball, moved past several defenders, and scored a goal that left the entire stadium stunned. Even seasoned professional players on his own team recognized in that moment that they were witnessing something rare. From there, his career began to rise quickly, but success did not silence every doubter. Some critics insisted that his small size would eventually catch up with him. that he would never truly become one of the greats. Others questioned his loyalty to Argentina simply because he had grown up playing for a Spanish club. At one particularly dark point, his family even received a threatening phone call, warning them to make Messi stop playing football. It frightened them deeply. But Messi refused to let fear control his life. He told his father simply that football was his life, and that he would not stop no matter what happened. By the time he reached his early 20s, Messi was already recognized as one of the finest players in the world. In 2009, at the age of 22, he won the Ballon d'Or, the award given to the best football player on the planet that year. Remarkably, he would go on to win this same award 7 separate times throughout his career, a record no other player has matched. What made Messi's game so different from others was not just his goal scoring. He created opportunities for his teammates constantly, worked tirelessly throughout every match, and played with a visible emotional connection to the sport that fans everywhere could feel. While his career on the field kept rising, Messi was also building a life away from the spotlight. He fell in love with Antonella Roccuzzo, a woman from his own hometown of Rosario, whom he had known since childhood. The two eventually married in 2017, and together they raised 3 sons. Despite his global fame, those close to him describe him as a devoted husband and father who values his family life far above the trophies and headlines. He has said many times that his greatest achievements are not measured in medals, but in the family he has built. Even with all this individual success, Messi's journey with Argentina's national team was filled with heartbreak for many years. The team lost several major finals, including the World Cup final in 2014 and multiple Copa America finals in the years that followed. Each loss affected Messi deeply. He was seen crying openly after some of these defeats, visibly carrying the weight of a nation's hopes on his shoulders. Some critics in Argentina unfairly suggested that he did not care enough about representing his country, comments that hurt him far more than most fans realized. At one particularly low point, he even briefly stepped away from the national team altogether, exhausted by the criticism and the losses. But after a period of reflection, he returned, saying plainly that he wanted to win for his country and make his people proud. In 2021, Messi finally captured his first major trophy with the Argentine national team, winning the Copa America. The emotional release for both Messi and the entire country was enormous. It was widely seen not simply as an individual achievement, but as a moment of healing for a nation that had waited so long alongside him. Not long after this victory came one of the most difficult professional moments of his career. For more than 2 decades, FC Barcelona had been Messi's entire footballing home, the club where he grew up, developed, and became the all-time leading goal scorer in the club's history. In 2021, due to serious financial difficulties within the club, Barcelona announced they were no longer able to keep him under contract. Messi was visibly devastated. During an emotional farewell press conference, he admitted through tears that he had always assumed he would finish his career and eventually retire at that same club. Life, however, had other plans for him. He soon joined Paris Saint-Germain in France, stepping into an entirely new country, culture, and style of football. The transition was far from smooth. Expectations were enormous, yet his first season did not go as anyone had hoped. He struggled to adapt to a different tactical system and a new city, and critics quickly speculated that perhaps his best years were now behind him, that age was finally catching up with him. For the first time in years, Messi found himself doubted publicly, in a way that echoed the disbelief he had faced as a small boy trying to prove himself worthy of a professional career. Rather than give up, he leaned on advice his father had given him years earlier, that every difficult test in life ultimately makes a person stronger if they choose to use it as fuel rather than as an excuse to quit. Messi focused on improving his fitness, learning from his early struggles in France, and gradually his performances returned to their usual brilliance. By his second season with the club, he was once again scoring, creating chances, and answering his critics through his play on the field rather than through words. In 2023, Messi surprised much of the football world again by signing with Inter Miami, a club in the United States, playing in a league that many considered far less prestigious than the ones he had dominated in Europe. Skeptics questioned why one of the greatest players in history would make such a move. Messi, however, had his own vision, one centered on helping grow the sport of football across America and inspiring an entirely new generation of young players there. Stadiums quickly filled with fans eager simply to watch him play, and his arrival is widely credited with shifting how the sport is perceived in that country. Throughout every stage of his career, one of Messi's most consistently praised qualities has been his style of leadership. Rather than shouting instructions or demanding attention, he leads primarily through quiet example, giving full effort in every match regardless of the score or stakes. Even during the most painful losses with the national team, he never publicly blamed teammates, always insisting instead that the team won together and lost together. This humility has earned him deep respect from players and fans across the footballing world, including from rivals who competed directly against him for years. Messi's influence has also reached well beyond the boundaries of the sport itself. He has donated significant sums of money to hospitals, schools, and various charitable causes over the years, and his personal foundation works specifically to help children from disadvantaged backgrounds gain access to better education and health care. Despite his immense wealth and fame, those who know him personally often describe someone who still prefers simple pleasures, spending time with his wife and sons, enjoying ordinary family activities away from any spotlight. For years, one achievement remained frustratingly out of reach for Messi: winning football's ultimate prize, the World Cup, for his home country. He had come agonizingly close in 2014, only to fall short in the final. Critics repeatedly suggested that this single missing trophy would forever be the one gap in an otherwise legendary career, that he simply did not have what was needed to deliver a World Cup title for Argentina. Then came the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Messi led his country through the tournament with performances that combined experience, skill, and sheer determination, scoring crucial goals throughout the competition. The final against France is widely remembered as one of the greatest matches in the sport's history, a back-and-forth battle that stretched through extra time and ultimately a penalty shootout. When Argentina were finally crowned champions, Messi lifted the World Cup trophy with tears streaming down his face, kissing the golden trophy in a moment that resonated far beyond football itself. For millions of fans across Argentina and around the world, it represented not just an individual dream fulfilled, but a nation united in celebration. Even after achieving what many consider the pinnacle of the sport, those close to Messi describe someone who remained remarkably unchanged by the achievement. He continued to credit his teammates, coaching staff, and family, rather than dwelling on personal glory, often stating publicly that success to him means far more than simply collecting trophies. It means striving to be a genuinely good person and finding ways to help others along the way. Younger players across the footballing world continue to look to Messi as proof that determination and quiet persistence can overcome even the most significant obstacles, whether those obstacles are physical, financial, or simply the doubt of others. Even players who spent years as his fiercest on-field rivals have publicly acknowledged the way his consistent excellence pushed them to elevate their own games throughout their careers. Messi has often shared simple pieces of wisdom drawn from his own long journey. He speaks about the importance of genuinely loving what you do, since talent alone is never quite enough without real dedication behind it. He speaks about resisting the temptation to constantly compare yourself to others, focusing instead on your own personal path and progress. And perhaps most consistently, he speaks about the central importance of family, describing his wife and children as the true source of strength that allows him to keep pushing forward even after decades in a demanding sport. Looking back across the full arc of his life, from a small, undersized boy in Rosario whose own body seemed to be working against his dreams, to a global icon, recognized in nearly every country on earth, Messi's story carries a lesson that extends well beyond football itself. It suggests that where you begin does not have to determine where you end up. What matters far more is persistence, quiet determination, and a willingness to keep working even when the people around you insist that your dream is impossible. His journey teaches that setbacks, whether a difficult diagnosis in childhood, cruel words from doubters, painful public defeats, or the sudden loss of a beloved club, do not have to be the end of a story. They can instead become simply another chapter on the way towards something greater. And through it all, perhaps the most enduring part of his legacy is not any single trophy or record, but the consistent example of someone who reached the very top of his profession while remaining at his core remarkably grounded, humble, and devoted to the people he loves most.